Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Franky Corcoran, coming at you today with another episode. Before we start today, I just wanted to give a quick thank you, big thank you to everybody who came out to our performance at the Aviation Museum this past weekend. It was an excellent turnout. We put on a really good show. We had great reviews, and just means a lot. Having so many people support what we do, and this production was crazy on on so many levels on how it all came together, and just what went into it. First of all, for those of you guys who follow us on Facebook, you'll notice we had the Christian Potenza was here on the river helping us out with this, and was so honored that it was kind of a big kept secret that he was coming down, big celebrity coming down. So we kind of kept it secret, and his amazing assistant Lynn Zelani was down as well. And just thank you so much to them for all the help. They were pretty much like our gophers all week, like just go. They're always doing something, and then also trying to do their own work virtually back home. So big thank you to them for coming on down, and thank you to Jody Coakley for arranging this whole thing and bringing us on, and the kids, the amazing aviation students. We had about 10 of them, and they all did a fantastic job, and I'm so grateful that they got to do this, because this is something I always say with acting and all that stuff. Any type of theater, I always want people who are happy to be there, because not many people get that opportunity. And the fact that these kids were always just so like whatever you need, we're there. That's always something, that I really stuck with. So big thank you to them for all their hard work and just for putting on a great show. Everyone loved it, and I was very pleased. So just wanted to give a little shout out to everybody who came out. Thank you so much. Means a lot. And we look forward to doing more. Because just because we did do this one, we get all sentimental, and it's like, oh no, there's still more to come. So that's always the best part. So anyways, moving on to the podcast today. That's why you guys are here. You're not here to listen to me get all sappy and sentimental over a project being done. We're here to talk to a guest today, as always. Her name is Ellen Frankenstein. She's a very talented woman. She's a filmmaker. She hosts her own live storytelling series that you can listen to on all podcasting platforms called Sitka Tells Tales. And her new documentary, Cruise Boom, is streaming now everywhere on PBS. Now, we recorded this a few days before it started streaming, so in case we're talking about it in past tense or whatever, it is out now. Wherever you want to listen to it, PBS or on Kanopy. I was trying to think, because I don't use Kanopy much, so I had to think about that for a second. And so great conversation. Had a blast with her for someone who's been, she has quite the resume. So I was very pleased to have her come on. Later in the show, I want to give my thoughts on the passing of James Earl Jones. He passed away fairly recently. It's been, at the time that you guys listen to this, it was a week ago. And I just thought it was too important to not, time. It doesn't matter how long it is for me. I try to cover all the news topics as soon as possible. And as soon as this came in, I said, I got to address James Earl Jones, because, one of the greatest of all time. And, lived a great life. And we also have some Spider-Man 4 updates, the Tom Holland Spider-Man 4 updates. We'll give my thoughts on that. And without further ado, guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's podcast. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Franky Corcoran, and today I am joined by a multi-talented director, indie film director, I should say. But she wears many different hats. She's here promoting her new film, which is called Cruise Boom. At this time, it's not available when we're recording this, but by the time you guys are listening to this, it will be everywhere. PBS.org on September 14th, which you guys are listening to this on September 17th. Ellen Frankenstein. Ellen, how are you?
I am awesome and glad to be on your show.
And we are also recording this early in the morning for you. It's 11 o'clock where I am right now. It's 6 a.m. where you are now. Are you an early bird type of person? Like, are you a morning person, or how is that for you?
I guess I would say I'm a private morning person, like cats and coffee and a few words with my spouse, but not normally a public person until I've kind of come to. I'm sort of like I wake up a little bit like a zombie.
Oh, well, there. I mean, I think we're all like that. And I mean, just seeing what you've done here, I mean, you deserve all the sleep. You know what I mean? Everything that you've done. I mean, with Cruise Boom and stuff like that. We'll talk about that as we get on with the show. But just going back, I mean, you've done so much stuff. I mean, all of your directing credits, go traces back, about 37 short films, and you even host a live storytelling series, Sitka Tell Tales. Just
Sitka
fan
tells tales. Yep, yep,
Sitka Tells Tales. There you go. That's the way it is. That's it.
yep.
First off, how'd you get started with all of this stuff? And is this something that you always knew you wanted to do?
I think I was always unsettled, curious, and a little bit of an introvert. And the way I could get out and be more extroverted is when I had a still camera on my hand, and it kind of allowed me to stand on the table and photograph things if I was doing yearbook or working for like the college alumni magazine. It pulled me in, and I'm also really curious. Just curious about the world.
And that's good though. That's really, really good. And you're always learning new things, especially when you're out researching stuff and you're that's one of the best things about filmmaking and collaborating and stuff like that is that you learn so much, which is really, really good. I mean, people see the finished result, but they don't realize what goes in behind the scenes, which is really, really good. And I mean, all the stuff that you've done, uh, how would you compare where you started as opposed to where you are now? Like, how would you describe the journey? Because you've been doing this for so many years now. How would you compare to where you started versus the present day?
Oh, that's well, just I'm so thankful for all the people I've collaborated with. And over the years, I always have like lots of young people come work with me and interns. So I just feel like there's so many people to learn from and so many questions to ask. I think what's interesting is like the landscape of how we use things is keeps changing, like the technology. But I also love the fact we live right now in this time where you can find a podcast about every topic, and there's so much out there. So it might be harder to get your work out and seen. But if you want to know, you want to explore realms you wouldn't otherwise, man, YouTube podcasts. I think that's really exciting. I don't know when that really directly answered your question, but did I kind
No,
of get
no.
it?
I mean, like things have changed so much, like
Yeah.
especially with the pandemic. It's
Yeah.
all we're seeing more podcasts come out. I started this podcast 2 years into the pandemic, like it's so there's so many different good things that came out of it. And I mean, of course, you haven't done Cruise Boom during the pandemic. Like that kind of started. You started filming that in 2021. Here we
Yep.
are, 2024, and it's getting ready to be shown to the world, which is really, really crazy. What would you say is probably the best thing that came out of the whole pandemic? I mean, lots of bad stuff came out of it, but we're able to take some good out of the bad. What would you describe?
Well, I gotta say, for me, I feel super privileged, and that's a word that's very loaded. I was in a position where I didn't have kids that I was raising. I wasn't under any super huge financial crisis because I paid for our little fixer-upper house making like safety films. I was able to slow down, and I really appreciated that. I started having regular walks with people as opposed to running all the time. I do art and schools projects all over Alaska. I was always running around showing films, just running, running, running. And the great thing is getting to use Zoom and stuff as a tool has meant you can work from home in a whole new way. And instance now with Cruise Boom, I used to run around with films a lot. I'm actually pretty content to show the film, have people show the film and zoom in to do a discussion. It's better for the environment. It's better for like my garden. So I think that's something really good. And here you are with your podcast. Do you agree about that?
Yes, 100%. Because we're able to do, because that's a problem with the pandemic. I mean, before you had people who would always be out and about, they'd always be out and about and this and that. But then once the pandemic hit and they have loved ones and family who are sick and they're like, I don't want to bring anything to them and stuff like that. So they kind of, stopped with the whole socializing, but then they're also like, how am I supposed to get out and about? How am I supposed to make connections? How am I supposed to pay my bills and stuff like that? Doing it from home is the best way to do it, like really. And it's crazy that now we're in a day and age where people are able to work from home, and it's truly something, especially in the arts, because the arts, you always have to be out and about, you always have to be in person talking to people. But we live in a day and age now, and that's something good that we got from COVID. We're able to do that. So many people are working from home. So many people are just able to work where they want, when they want. It all kind of, it's a win-win. I mean, it's a shame that it had to happen under the circumstances that it did. The world shutting down. Like that's never a fun thing because we
Yeah,
always want to see people,
but I do have to say that I've edited films and done the grant writing up from home, and I always felt like people didn't think I was working because I mean, I think there are a lot of people in the arts, writers, animators, whatever, who work from home. And I used to have a friend who always wanted me to watch her kids during the day because she thought I wasn't doing anything, but I was actually at home editing films, which is like a really slow and tedious process, but it didn't seem like I was working.
That's the funny part. They're like, "Are you guys really working from home?" You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh, my camera's not working. It's actually working. I just shut it off." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even us doing this podcast with audio only, are we actually, in the same room? That's a question. You're in Alaska. I'm in Canada. Are we really though? Maybe we are in the same room. So it's
Yeah.
crazy all the stuff that we're able to do, which is it's a blessing able to do it from the comfort of our own home too. Do you prefer the whole being out and about thing? Do you prefer just doing it from home? Like, is there kind of advantages to both? Which would you describe as is probably your preference?
Well, I think it depends on the context. I mean, I think it's really good for humans to interact. We are social beings. And I'm about to head off to two conferences and see family, but I think I've become more selective. So I think it's just being more selective and also making that decision, which actually ties to Cruise Boom, of traveling more for fun and family than for work than I used to. That's where I think I'm at. Just being much more selective.
Yes, exactly. And just doing what you want to do. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, not necessarily working your own hours, but just working in a way that's comfortable and more convenient for you is always the best part. But yeah, we've been talking about Cruise Boom. What is Cruise Boom for the audience? I mean, I know what Cruise Boom is, but the audience might be wondering what's Cruise Boom. We were talking a little bit about before the show where we can access it, but feel free to tell us about it.
Okay, so Cruise Boom, and sometimes I talk fast. I was the youngest child, so I go Cruise Boom, and people are going, "What did you just say?"
Cruise
So what?
Boom.
Yeah, yeah. It's like being in the South in the U.S. People go sweet tea, and you're like, "What was that?" And they're saying sweet tea, which is just tea with a lot of sugar in it. But Cruise Boom, I ended up coming to Sitka, Alaska, about 30 years ago. I actually hadn't. I come from the East Coast of the U.S., a little south of Toronto, um, and I have floated around working in the West Indies and California, blah blah blah. I film a while ago, and I ended up living Southeast Alaska. Uh, so there's always been tourism in Sitka, Alaska, but we kept voting down public docks for cruise ships, and a fellow built a private dock in collaboration with a cruise line, Royal Caribbean, and he in essence over the last couple years we have gone from about 200,000 max of visitors to close to 600,000 because of the private dock. So I'm going on and on here, but it's a film that follows the community as we realize we are changing and we're trying to prepare for it. So it's a year or so in the film in the town while we're getting ready for new influx um till the cruise ship kind of takes off at the end of the season.
Oh, okay, awesome, awesome. And like we said, this was all filmed and stuff during the pandemic. which was really really good. That you were able to keep busy. But is there ever a frustration that when you're doing these types of movies that you're like this is taking way too long or anything like that, or is it just just can't rush art, can't rush the process?
Well, I think it was interesting because this wasn't done in the thick of the pandemic because there was a year where we had no cruise ships and then they started slipping back in and then it got really big. So we were really filming. We started in 21, but things were starting to ease. Um, I had one dilemma where I had got COVID and I was getting better, but I feel like maybe I went out with my mask after 10 days, but then someone was like, you shouldn't even be doing that. So there was that tension. And then there was the tension in the town because all the tourists coming in, they were also bringing in, like, we didn't have that many COVID cases. So we're tourists bringing in more COVID. So, I mean, I think there's all those dilemmas.
COVID, how bad did you have it? Like not bad, or was it kind of rough? Or
I didn't have COVID very badly at all. And I think the big thing with having COVID is like that those questions you ask yourself about if you're still contagious, is a mask enough? That type of question is always really hard. I think those choices.
well, definitely. Well, especially when you're working on, big scale productions and stuff like that. You're like one person getting it, gives it to that person who then also has a family, and that family goes and sees people every day. So it's literally like just one person. All it takes is one person to, cause it to spread, and I'm glad it's gotten to the point now where it's not done. I mean, by any means, it's not done. There's still people who get cases and stuff like that, and it just it is what it is, and hopefully they don't get it too bad and everything. But it's at the point now where it's almost not quite like a flu, but it's become more manageable, which is good. Like I'm glad that we're at least all able to actually get back to work. Was there ever a point where you didn't think you would be like the film industry and stuff would ever get back on its feet because of it? Because there were lots of talks about that. Can artists survive the pandemic? Like, were you ever worried about that?
Well, not, we're very small. I'm a little independent documentary filmmaker, and their storytelling series went Zoom to radio. But I think in the cities, sure. I mean, major film production areas where there's much more of an industry, it was an issue.
No, definitely. And even like theater and stuff like that too. Like we didn't know if that was going to survive. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy. And you even do, of course, your live storytelling podcast series as well too. How was all that affected by it?
Well, we stopped doing it for a while, but then I got the idea we could do Zoom to radio. So that's what we started doing. We started doing we had all the participants on Zoom. I always do rehearsals, and then we just broadcast the Zoom. Someone was at the radio station and broadcast that, and then we realized because we were just doing the live storytelling shows in person before that, and then sometimes playing the pre-recorded episode, but it really changed the way we did the storytelling series where we started doing it live to the radio and in person, which is really fun. It's a lot to organize, but so we people can be at home and listen to our live podcast on the radio. Uh, so that's been really, really fun.
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely. So feel free, yeah, tell us a bit about this podcasting series because I think it's really 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 cool what you guys have done with this.
Well, it's called Sitka Tells Tales, and it's stories, like the storytelling is all over. And we have six people tell 6 minutes, six-minute stories to a theme. Our next one is October 9th. It's it sort of celebrates our animal shelter here. And it's Tales of Tales. And it's our second edition of this. And it's fun. It's fun. There's serious and sad stories. I've been doing that about 8, 9 years now. We've had some great stories. Two of my favorite stories are include a woman who gave birth in a car and a young man who reckoned with his father's death uh, on an LSD trip.
Oh, wow.
And So those two, like some of our stories, we're small towns. Sitka's a community of 8,500 people, and I love getting different people on the mic. Not always to get the same people who love mics. So they really vary, even though we coach, and I get the tellers together to go over the stories with each other and say, "Huh, this is working. That's not working. How can we make this stronger?" So that's a really fun project. And what I love about that, so Cruise Boom is a film that took about through 2, 3 years to make, and then I have to do all this outreach. So I'm sort of stuck in the same topic every time I do an independent film. And so you sort of feel like you've married your issue. And going back to Cruise Boom, the issue of tourism and its impact on communities is a really sticky and prickly topic because people are making money and setting limits. And, all over the world, there's questions about, oversaturation and over tourism, where I love the storytelling series because it's like it's a bit of work to organize, but we change what we're doing and then it's out and it's done.
No, definitely, absolutely. And so it's great to see too that all of your work and stuff like that, you get great support, through grants, and you get just when you're doing this type of stuff, you want all the support you can get. How critical is it to have a good, support system, like good financial support and good people just working behind the scenes with you to help make these projects come to life?
Well, the funding landscape on this side of the border is pretty rough. I know in Canada it used to be really good with the National Film Board and other things. I know it isn't as good as it used to be on that side, but it was always, I think, a little easier. It's really competitive and hard to get funding. And so a lot of ways, small filmmakers, call myself small, you do a bunch of other work, like work for hire. That's what I'm saying. I've done a lot of community public health projects and teaching, and then you sort of get ahead. And I have my own NGO, and then I sort of, I stash some sort of funds to seed the next project. So then the grants and the fundraising help, but I've never been like the best fundraiser, and my projects are pretty scrappy. I tend to shoot this. I have a wonderful co-producer on Cruise Boom named Atman Mehta, who is a young collaborator. So we shot and edited it, the both of us, and then I have consulting editors, a sound designer, people who work on the score, someone who helped get it ready for, the final edit for like broadcasting, and pretty much, and then I've had some people help on outreach, but it's pretty small scale compared to a feature.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, like, no matter what, it's very, very important to have all that good uh support system, because I mean, really, I mean, like, as you're going into it, big or small, um you got to make money too at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, it is a business, and so whatever support you're able to get, I mean, that always comes very well, very, very handy. And if you had any advice for people who are pursuing, whether it's, a small time filmmaker, or if it's they're looking to do, bigger films, going into it, they might think, because I know lots of people who might say, "Oh, how hard is it to film this? Oh, it can't be that hard. Why are they taking so long to film, and this and that?" You've done it. You've done lots of it. What would you say to those people who might think it's not as hard as it actually is?
Well, all creative processes have, ups and downs. You're excited about an idea, and then you jump into it, and then it's like being in a school like during the semester. And then there's all these barriers and things that happen along the way, and you want to give up and you're bored with it or whatever. And then you feel good and then you feel bad. I think accepting that it is a road and it's more complicated uh than you might think it is, but you got to follow your dream, you got to follow your passion, and not be kind of dissuaded by other voices, including your own.
Yes, self-doubt, that's a big thing with artists. And I always say that it's not a bad thing per se to, self-doubt and stuff like that. I mean, like, being confident, that's what you want to be. You want to be confident, but not too confident. You don't want to get too big for your britches, kind of thing. But you don't want to be constantly second guessing everything you're doing, especially with a big production. That's always the main thing. Cruise Boom on September 14th, but by the time that you guys are listening to this, Cruise Boom will be everywhere on PBS and all that. Why, if you were to give like a pitch for people, why they should watch Cruise Boom, what would your sales pitch be?
Yeah, and I also want to say before we go on, I know Canopy is really big
Yes,
in
that's right. We
Canada.
were talking about that
And
actually.
and so you can go to Canopy and find Cruise Boom, and like I think I have 6 films on there, my obscure little films, including I'll go on a tangent. The film before this longer independent film, and I don't get to work on my own films all the time because I'm kind of scattered with all the different things I do, is I got to make a film with a lovely Haida elder and master weaver named Dolores Churchill. And it's an amazing story. And it's kind of like a buddy road trip where we try to understand a spruce root hat that was found with someone called the Long Ago Man, Don Chi. And it's a half an hour film called Tracing Roots, and that can be found on Canopy. Um, so to Cruise Boom, the reason, okay, what it is, it's the dilemmas of change, economic development and growth versus community. What is it to live in a community? And one of the challenges in making Cruise Boom, I almost said Tracing Roots, was um we tried to make the community the character. There isn't like one protagonist like in a typical film. It's the community, and the film became like it's 55 minutes long because I wanted to show the community around the tourism season and people and try to show and create that sense of place and a sense of time and seasons.
Yes, awesome. That's awesome. Like definitely, and even just watching all the like the teaser clips and stuff like that, it looks beautiful. It's beautifully shot and very well directed and stuff. So I'm very very excited to see how it turns out. So yeah, guys, PBS and Canopy, be sure to check out Cruise Boom, which is at the time that you're listening to this is now available. Ellen, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show today. Do you have any last words you'd like to say to the listeners before we sign off?
No, but also if you want to see any of those short, I did this really fun series called 14 Miles, all about the community in 37 short films that were all collaborative. And it's an idea I wanted people to steal. Like you don't have to necessarily make long films or long radio pieces. Short is good too. I just encourage people to create, to care about their communities. Um, I think another little lesson about this film is that I mean, I don't know how when you talk to people about the content of their films and their thoughts about it, is sometimes we call people who are asking questions about what's happening in their community critics or activists. And one of the lessons of this film is that we all need to participate in what's happening in our communities. And just because you ask questions and you go to public meetings doesn't make you a critic. It's like you want to be involved. And
Yes, everybody's a critic.
but they're not really a critic. And so I guess that's one thing I want to say. Another thing we haven't talked about. One of my favorite things about making films is the use and how that, it's like the what it leaves with other people and makes them talk about and inspires them to do, and what lingers is always really amazing to me. I mean, I was struck. I did a lot of black and white photography, and one thing that I used to do exhibits is that I enjoyed when someone said they had a nightmare from one of my images. And it was an image of two actually very stone looking young people at a college prom reception. And I love the fact that they kind of got it because the young people looked like they were unhappy adults. Like they transformed, they broken time boundaries sort of. And you just wonder what was ahead for them. And so when someone came up, when I heard that had worked, that felt good.
the the more scared they feel, the better. That's
No,
kind of
no,
the
that no, not scared. That like with your podcast, what do you want people to get out of it?
like learn lots about the entertainment world, anything about I'm like what goes on behind the scenes and
Yeah,
stuff like that from people like yourself who are industry professionals.
yeah. I guess, creating like these individual things, whether it's a photograph or a radio piece or a film, I guess I just want something to linger with people. And I don't want them to have nightmares especially, but I like people to have questions. And the other thing about a lot of my work, it doesn't end with tidy bows or rainbows. It's like it ends on, okay, that wasn't finished, or what's next?
It's not all butterflies and rainbows kind of
No.
thing. No, very very realistic, and that's what I like too about stories is when they keep them, it's impactful. It's, you want to see a happy ending for some people, but at the end of the day, realism sells. You know what I mean? Like the realism of something that's grounded in reality. If the not a bleak ending, but like the more impactful, the more loss that occurs throughout, the better story wise. That's just what I think. I think that's always what you go for.
Yeah. Yeah. You want a little impact. And
Yes,
then it's on to the next thing. And nothing, the other thing you said, back to messages. I think you have to realize, I think artists have always said things aren't finished when you're working on something. You just sort of let go at a certain point.
yeah, exactly. That's it. Amazing messages. Those are amazing messages too. And for someone who's worked in the industry, it's great to hear your perspective on it as well too, and seeing that all you've done. Congratulations on all of the success as well too. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing Cruise Boom. So guys, be sure to check out Cruise Boom, streaming now, PBS or Kanopy. Let's make sure we plug Kanopy because that's for all our Canadian listeners. That might be the best way to watch it. Because remember, before we started, I was kind of going through. I'm like, how do I get on PBS? Because it's asking for like my state. I'm like, no, I need to put my province in, but we'll find it.
Right.
Pirate
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
it. Well, there's
And I
so
think,
yep.
oh, I want to say one thing. Cruise Boom is particularly important to, I mean, it's a film about a community and economic growth and this and that, story of place. But I think like places like Victoria and Vancouver and where I don't know if are you getting cruise ships on your side of the country?
We're getting some of them. Not, I'm like not where I am. We don't really have too much of them. But we do get some in the Maritimes here.
And also I also encourage people who take cruises to watch this film.
Yes, that's perfect. If you like cruises, you'll like this film. That's the best way to put
Well,
it.
but it also might make you think about the impact you have on the places you visit. Because I'll tell you one funny anecdote about this film. You can't get rid of me quickly. Is that it follows the community. And I have this one image of these really wonderful visitors from Hong Kong. They come up and they're petting this uh dog from a fisherman's dog. And then I realized people in this town, because we have so many tourists who have dogs, are exhausted by all the visitors who rightfully want to make contact with locals. They they get tired of everyone coming and talking to them about their dogs.
But that's never a bad thing. I love dogs.
Oh, no, 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 just that it's just the inundation that you're inundating a community that kind of wants to be itself.
Yes, exactly.
And when you want to go to the post office or get to your fishing boat, you don't necessarily want to talk to every visitor. Or like one more thing is that my husband's a fisherman, and tourists have come onto his boat and asked him like why he's not fishing, and he's working on his boat because that's what fishermen do.
Yes, exactly. Just doing my job.
Right. And if they talk to him, he's not going to get his work done.
Yes, exactly. Like just keep on moving. I'll call you later,
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. But Ellen, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it, and very much looking forward to Cruise Boom.
Thank you so much for interviewing me.
Yes, my pleasure. My pleasure. So, guys, we're going to take a short break. We will be right back. But until then, this is Frankie and Ellen signing off. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Corkin Entertainment Show. That was me and Ellen Frankenstein. Guys, be sure to check out Ellen's film, Cruise Boom, now available on PBS and Kanopy and all that good stuff. So thank you so much, Ellen, for coming on the show today. So our first solo discussion topic today is one that wasn't planned at first. Now, I recorded last week's episode a few days before, and then as soon as I scheduled it, released it, stuff like that, we got word that James Earl Jones passed away. And the episode was already pretty well done. I was like, okay, there's no sense in going back, and it's been a crazy week anyway. So yeah, I just figured it'd be good to talk about it here. And next week's topic, I had a topic centered around Joker. Joker Folie I Do is coming soon. There was a topic about that I wanted to discuss, but I will do that next week instead because I wanted to switch it around with James Earl Jones, the great James Earl Jones. I mean, he's been known for a multitude of things, but probably his most famous one was Darth Vader. Like, that's probably his most iconic. He has passed away at the age of 93. And it's crazy. It's crazy when there's certain people, like you look at someone like Betty White, who passed away at 99, like just weeks away from her 100th birthday. And there's some of those people that when they die, it's still kind of just a shock, even though they lived a full life. That's what James Earl Jones kind of feels like too, because he's always just kind of been there. And 93, I mean, like, he lived a great life. There is no doubt about that. He lived a great life, lived a great career, did lots of things. People know him for a multitude of projects. And he has passed away at the age of 93. And so kind of just going through, like, the stuff that he's been in. I just wanted to talk a little bit about James Earl Jones. So he died in his home in Pawling, New York, at 93. In a statement, CNN said that Jones was a voice of CNN and our brand for many decades, uniquely conveying through speech, instant authority, grace, and decorum. That remarkable voice is just one of the many things that the world will miss about James. And I 100% agree with that. James Earl Jones had such a... Now, people know him best as Darth Vader, and if you're going to choose one of the things he's done throughout his career that's what he's going to be known for, probably Darth Vader. For me personally, loving Lion King growing up, it's always going to be Mufasa for me. Just seeing him, like really, there was no better person that you could have casted as Mufasa. It was so distinct, so iconic, and it was so iconic to the point that when it was time to do the remake in 2019, the quote-unquote live-action remake, they didn't recast him. They recasted just about everybody else, and James Earl Jones was the only one who they did not recast. And I think the fact that, it's... he didn't have as much life as he did with when he did the new Lion King, as opposed to when he did the old one back in 94, which it's understandable, and we hear about it that his health was kind of deteriorating around then, and he wasn't able to, so they did it. But the fact that he was willing to just come back for one more time as Mufasa as in the remake, I think is just, there was no better way to do that, because there's certain actors, like we look at Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. It's going to be very, very hard to picture somebody else doing that voice without him, and even when we get Mufasa the Lion King coming out in December, it's obviously a prequel, so he's voiced by a different actor, but who knows, maybe they were able to squeeze him in there for like some sort of quick cameo or something like that, voice cameo, whatever the case may be. But it's crazy. It's crazy to think about how iconic he made Mufasa, in that it's going to be difficult now if they do any more remakes or anything like that. There's big shoes to fill. That was the same deal I had with Jeremy Irons as Scar. They casted Chiwetel Ejiofor, which by no means was a bad choice for Scar. I just think they should have kept Jeremy Irons as Scar. There was one of those exceptions. I'm like, if you're going to reboot something, start over scratch and just, but I do have some exceptions to that rule. One of those is, if you're going to reboot Lion King, you should still get Jeremy Irons back as Scar, because it's so iconic. And they didn't keep it with Jeremy Irons, but they did keep it with James Earl Jones. And that was just, what a treat it was. What a treat it was to get to see him back as Mufasa one more time. And who knows, maybe he's in the new one, and maybe he was able to film something for his passing. I'm not entirely sure about that. But we can only hope that we got a little bit more from him. One movie that he did that really stood out to me was The K. For those of you guys who don't know The K, it was a television film. It was based on a book from, it was the 60s, I believe. And it was James Earl Jones and I'm not sure who the actor's name, Alfred Lutter. Alfred Lutter is his name. Yeah. Basically, for those of you guys who don't know The K, basically it's a young boy and an elderly man by the name of Timothy, who and also a stray cat with them. They're all trapped on a K. And Philip goes blind, and it really the whole film is really about the relationship between them and how it their dynamic is and everything. It's really, really good. And the book was great to read. We read it in 7th grade. And so that was one of the movies where I look back on that later. I was like, holy crap, that was James Earl Jones. Back then, when I was watching it, that didn't even really clue in that it was James Earl Jones. And it's amazing. I think, honestly, if you go on YouTube and type in The K, you may even find something. Maybe the movie might be online. It's a TV movie from like the 60s, 70s, so you may be able to find it on there somewhere. But James Earl Jones was terrific in it. And that's one of the things that many people might not really know him for, but for me, that is something that I, watching The K and reading The K, studying it in school, that's something that that's part of the school history now, you know what I mean? Another thing he's known for, of course, is Conan the Barbarian. Is another big one too. There's so many of them. Like literally, like you go on his IMDb and it's just like it could be a storybook in and of itself, just how much things James Earl Jones was in. And, lived a great life. It's not like one of those, I mean, we have lots of people who pass away. Like we have, like Matthew Perry passed away. He was 54, 55, 54, I believe. And Bob Saget, who died at 65, and people like that. And you're like, oh, crap, they still had so much life. Like it was still, it was such a shock to lose him at that age. And, just unfortunate circumstances. But with James Earl Jones, he lived a great life. He lived a fantastic life. And whether, some people say, oh, he still could have done more. Well, I mean, I think he gave us all that he could. You know what I mean? Not many people can say they lived to 93. I mean, that's quite an achievement. That's for sure. So, rest in peace, James Earl Jones. And, his voice is so iconic. We're never going to forget him. Like, we will never forget James Earl Jones. And just all that he's achieved and stuff like that. He's going to be missed, but his legacy will live on, especially, you watch The Lion King. All those lines, I think, are going to hit everybody really, really hard now. All those lines that Mufasa delivers and how he delivers them has such a different meaning now that James Earl Jones has passed. So, anyways, guys, be sure to let me know your thoughts on the passing of James Earl Jones. It's been about a week now since it happened. I never touched on it last week, but I figured, better late than never to talk about it and pay tribute to a fantastic performer, fantastic, just, such a distinct voice and terrific. Just nobody's gonna forget him. Nobody will ever forget him. So definitely, guys, be sure to let me know what you think about James Earl Jones's passing on our social media. And so moving on to our last solo discussion topic today, I want to talk about Spider-Man. This is one that in all the announcements that we've been getting about everything with regards to we're getting Avengers Doomsday, we're getting Avengers Secret Wars, all this stuff. The one movie that everybody's looking forward to that we haven't gotten any announcements for is Spider-Man 4. Not Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 4, but that would be great to see. It's the announced Tom Holland Spider-Man 4, of course, the sequel to No Way Home. So it is confirmed still. We are getting a Spider-Man 4. Updates over the last little while have been kind of, we've been getting lots of mixed reports and stuff like that. Different news coming from different outlets where we're hearing, oh, so and so is in development to be or is in negotiations to play the villain and this and that. So, but a lot of them are coming from these no-name news sources that somebody living in their grandmother's basement can just do up themselves. And hell, I could do it here. I'm just some nobody here. I can make up some news sources and spread it around and see how many clicks it gets. I'm not going to do that, but now, so just recently, we just got some major developments with regards to Spider-Man 4, which now this is a good thing. This is a great thing. I'm very, very glad that this is a go now. Like we're finally, things are finally starting to move along with Spider-Man 4. Now, we have a director. Now, John Watts directed the Home trilogy, which, I mean, he did a fantastic job. And he's also said that he's, planning to move on. And that's okay. Like after a certain point, I think, you kind of just need a change to after a certain point, you're doing the same thing over and over again. Things kind of get stagnant. So John Watts is not going to be directing. Instead, we are getting Destin Daniel Cretton, who directed Shang-Chi, is going to be directing Spider-Man 4, Tom Holland Spider-Man 4, whatever it's going to be called. I hope they just give it a title soon so we can just stop calling it Spider-Man 4, because we hear Spider-Man 4 and people immediately go, oh my god, it's they're making Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. No. We still might. Who knows? I mean, I'm not going to, never say never. We still might get it. But for now, let's just think of this as the new era of Spider-Man. Let's just think like we're not getting Tobey Maguire back again after this. Although Andrew Garfield has said, there is an article from Andrew Garfield, and he kind of alludes to the possibility of seeing his Spider-Man again. Not that we are gonna get him for sure. I mean, like it's well, actually, at this point, we can't really believe that anything he says now. But Andrew Garfield says he has denied again. He says, the internet is a big place. I think there's a lot of people who will say anything just to get clicks, so you might have to be duped, I'm afraid. And so, whether Andrew Garfield is actually in Spider-Man 4, I mean, who knows? Maybe he will. But I think nobody's going to believe him now just because for the last, however long before No Way Home came out, he just kept saying, I'm not in the film and this and that, and nobody believed him. And then next thing you know, yes, he did show up in No Way Home, and it was fantastic. So whether, we can't really say right now for sure if he's going to be back, but, maybe we'll, I'm still holding out hope for Amazing Spider-Man 3. I still got my fingers crossed for Amazing Spider-Man 3 that we will eventually get that. But that's just, me trying to be optimistic. But anyways, there's not really any news there, just that Andrew Garfield's denied being in it, and that's a whole other discussion now. But, Daniel Cretton is, it says he's in talks to do it, and then I'm seeing reports that he is confirmed. So whichever one is the case is not entirely clear, but still, this is very, very big because this means that whether he's in talks to direct it or he is directing it, that shows that Spider-Man 4 it's still in development. Like, they haven't forgotten about it. I know lots of people are a little bummed because they think this means that Shang-Chi, the sequel, isn't going to be made for a while, which is not sure. That's a great movie, too, Shang-Chi. I actually checked it out fairly recently. I never saw it when it was in theaters, but I really, really like Shang-Chi, and I think the sequel can be great. But if I was given the option, what do I want first, a Shang-Chi 2 or Spider-Man 4? Sorry, I'm more of a Spider-Man fan, so I'm going to have to say Spider-Man 4. But yeah, either way, I am very, very excited to see how this goes down and to see what more developments come from this, because my big thing with Spider-Man 4 is I think they need to do a complete reset, which, I mean, they've already started to do in No Way Home, because now nobody knows who Peter Parker is and nobody knows that he even existed. And I think they need to stick with that. I think they need, because I do see some people making these points saying, oh, but you need Ned and MJ in there. You need them to come back and reunite with Peter. I'm like, okay, I mean, you could, but I don't want that. I really, really don't want that, because it's just going to ruin the whole. It's going to feel kind of cheesy, too. Like, we had this big, impactful ending with No Way Home. And, Peter choosing to, sacrifice everything he loves and lose everything he loves just so, he can save the universe, basically, from all the people who are coming to get him. And so, yeah, basically, I really don't, as much as I like Zendaya and I can't remember the guy who plays Ned, as much as I like them, I really, really don't want them to come back, just because it's for story purposes, not because I don't like them as actors or anything like that. It's for story purposes, because this is something that Guardians of the Galaxy did very, very well, and this is something that's going to be very, very missed with James Gunn. You know, you look at Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and lots of people were kind of optimistic that, okay, maybe Peter and Gamora are actually going to reunite and they're going to reconcile and this and that. And at the end, they didn't. They just accepted that this is a new Gamora. And I like that a lot. That was like the perfect way to end their story. Because if they would have just thrown all the stuff that happened in Infinity War where she dies and then, you know, we get the new one from Endgame, but she doesn't know who he is. And if we had them just reconcile anyway, it would have just been so cheesy. So that's one of the things that, hell, if only James Gunn was still around. Oh, man. DC's in great hands, though. But that's what I want with Spider-Man 4. I want them to just, and I don't want any more of this, you know, no more Iron Boy, no more nothing like this, no more Iron Man Jr. I want just Spider-Man being Spider-Man. He has no mentors, because people say, oh, maybe I've even seen some people throwing around theories that maybe, you know, Shang-Chi will be like the Doctor Strange and take on that like mentor role. I'm like, okay, he could, but I don't really want it. I don't want that at all. I want Peter to be Peter. No more Iron Boy. No more Doctor Strange's, you know, buddy. No more Nick Fury. You know, so I just want just a clean slate with him. And that's what they need to do. I really do think that's what's needed in this universe. If you want, you know, to keep the emotional stakes there, you want the impact of No Way Home. That was such a big movie and such a big ending too, that, yeah, we really, with a new director too, this signals that, is that we're keeping Tom Holland Spider-Man, of course, but now he can truly be Spider-Man. He can truly be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and not rely on this Stark technology and this and that. I think we'll see maybe a little bit of it in Avengers, Doomsday and Secret Wars, and that's a whole other debate. Which one are we getting first? Are we getting Secret Wars first, or sorry, are we getting Doomsday, Spider-Man 4, and then Secret Wars, or are we getting Spider-Man 4 before then? That's a good question, because we're not getting Doomsday until 2026. So, I mean, I don't really see us getting Spider-Man 4 in 2025. I'm going to say, if I had to guess, I'd say we're going to get it in 2026. But whether it's before or after Doomsday is a different question. So I'm going to say 2026 for Spider-Man 4. That's when we're going to see it. Because, I mean, they've been working on it since 2021, since No Way Home came out. So I think they got lots of time to get it all together, and I'm super stoked to see what they do with it. But those are the updates. We got a new director. Tom Holland, of course, is back as Spider-Man. That's been confirmed for a while. He always alludes to, oh, maybe it's almost time to move on and this and that. It's like, no, you're coming back. Like, he is coming back. So those are the updates. I can't wait to hear more, but definitely, guys, be sure to let me know your thoughts on those big Spider-Man 4 updates on social media. And so that will do it for the show there today, guys. I want to thank my guest, Ellen Frankenstein, another plug for Cruise Boom on PBS and Kanopy now. So be sure to check that out and show some support for all the hard work she put into it. And thank you guys for listening to the show today. We're coming up on 150 episodes. Thank you guys for, keeping us going. And, we got lots of stuff planned for the rest of this year. So thank you very much, guys. We'll see you next episode. Until then, this is Franky signing off. Have a great week.